Hello and welcome to Just One More Thing, a podcast about knitting and crafting. I'm your host, Janessa, and uh, apologies off the top. um, I'm a day late. I kind of forgot about podcasting yesterday. It was one of those just really lazy summer vacation days that I didn't do anything and it just totally slipped my mind. No more excuses. Sorry about that. um, yeah, I don't even have like a good excuse for why I didn't. I just didn't. Um, but it's kind of a good thing because I actually have a finished object to show you because of it. Not a knitting object, but finished spinning. Also, it's raining here today, so it's a little overcast. I think I've got enough light coming in to get decent enough lighting for everything and not have to turn the overhead on. But it also means it's like really humid and muggy outside. So I have the fan going, the air conditioning will probably kick on, sound issues, I'm sorry. And that also means the kids are inside. So there might be a few interruptions along the way, but I can edit those out. So let's get started. Lost my train of thought. 3 minutes in, I've had an interruption. I've said hello. Thank you for watching. If you're new, welcome. Okay. So, finished spinning. You may remember I have been working on 2 different projects, and one of them is now done. This merino from Into the World, the colorway that I cannot pronounce, Reinerdine, maybe. It was this beautiful brown and gray and black kind of fiber. Here it is. I actually have like a main skein and a mini. But there it is, all finished. My goal, this was a lot of like should have been type spinning projects. My goal when I started out was to get a 2-ply fingering, but as you can tell, let me get a few over this penny, strands over this penny so you can see. Focus. So yeah, as you can tell, it's quite thin. Let's just do one strand. Whoops. There it is. So it definitely ended up lace weight, which is, it's my default when I spin, when I'm not paying attention, gets quite thin, which means if I do a 2-ply, I should just know when I do 2-ply, like, it's gonna end up lace weight. But yeah, it is what it is. So I'll still get a lot of good use out of it. I do love how the colors turned out. The one thing that did turn out correct with this project, you can see all the barber pulling going on. That's exactly what I wanted to happen with it. When I broke the braid in half in the middle, and then I spun pretty long striping, like pretty long color repeats, and I ended up on part A, the first half, the color that I ended on was brown, and on the second half B, I ended on black, so that when I started playing them together, I was getting opposite colors. And that's it. It left it with this really nice kind of pebbly look, like when you get it kind of far away. It looks much more stone-like instead of like self-striping. But something that pleasantly, surprisingly happened, a lot of times when I was in I don't know if the camera's going to focus on this or not. Take my face away, maybe. It's not. Back here. It's very hard to see, but the lightest tan and the lightest gray barber pulled together. So you end up with these, like, you can't hardly tell that they're barber pulled, but it's just a really nice kind of, I have like no words today. They're not coming out right. It ended up in a pretty nice, like, marled look, I think. So I'm very pleased with it. Out of the 4 ounces, let me look at my notes. I got like just under 1,200 yards. So I don't know what that is in meters. I didn't do the conversion in meters. But yeah, just under 1,200 yards. So I think it was like 1,196 yards of lace weight. Maybe a heavy lace weight, but definitely lace weight. There's not very many, like, this is probably about the thickest strand in the whole bunch. And this is, I'm trying to find like a super thin one. This is about how thin it gets. So, I mean, overall, pretty even strand wise. So, yay. One project down. I think that pushes me like super close to my stash goal. It definitely takes me into the 10K. I might be getting close to 15K, especially by the time I get this next project that I'm going to show you done. So, finished spinning, and now I can focus on the Falkland that I'm working on that I got from Once Upon a Corgi. And that will be done soon. So, okay, let's see what's next. So last week I was pretty sure that I was going to be able to FO the mammoth shawl that I'm working on. Didn't happen. But what did happen is, if I can find my, try not to pull needles out here. It's going to be a little bit, itchy nose. It's going to be a little bit difficult to show you because I am working on the edging now. So, let me just pull those through so they don't completely pull out. The main body of the shawl is done. That's all done. And now what I'm doing is putting on the edging. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that a gorgeous cable? Check that out. So, how best to show this? Basically, here's all the live stitches from the body of the cable. And then here's my 1, 2, 3. Here are my cable stitches, these right here. And then every row, when I get there, I'm basically working this stitch from the edging and this stitch from the body together, and it binds it off right there. So like those, you can kind of see it right there, how it binds it off. So, and then you get that cable, which will be like this on the very bottom of the shawl. So, I'm happy with how this is turning out. It's a bit more complicated cable than the one that goes down the spine of the shawl, but it's still pretty intuitive. And if you know how to read a cable chart, it's super easy. Um, this is a test knit for Cozy Up Knits that I'm working on. They have a podcast called Cozy Up with the Stitch and Sisters, and I think their Ravelry, like the store, is Cozy Up Designs. I'll link to it in the show notes. Actually, it's worth checking out. Um, I don't know for how long it's going on, but right now, if you watch their podcast, they're kind of doing like stocking up for their farmers market store items that they knit. And so a bunch of their patterns, like chunky mitts, hats, baby booties, I'm not sure what else they'll be working on. But the weeks that they're working on those patterns, they're giving them away for free. So it's worth kind of stalking their store. Oh no, I just dropped something important. Brooklyn will be mad. It's worth checking out their store and maybe grabbing some free patterns. And I'm distracted, I know. I have something that Brooklyn made that I was going to show you, and I just dropped one. Okay. Crisis averted. Anyway, yeah. Check out their store, grab yourself a free pattern, and work on your Christmas knitting, Christmas gifts. Back to the mammoth shawl that I'm test knitting for, though. I'm using Lion Brand's Vanna's Choice yarn from Lion Brand to knit mine in. And I'm really happy with how it's turning out. It's not like the best yarn to show stitch definition, but I think it's holding up pretty well. So, cable knitting from a chart. Let's discuss, shall we? I pretty much cannot do cables unless I have a chart. I probably could if I had like really taught myself how to like read and knit at the same time, but I'm more visual and I really need a chart. And I took a class long ago, I want to say it was with Kirsten Kapoor, on how to cable without a cable needle, which I do, which makes things so much easier when you can do this, because then you don't have to like, oh no, I'm at the cable and where did I put the needle, and it just makes life a little easier. Anyway, that's like a whole nother discussion. But in her class, she gave me some of the best advice I ever got. And it's probably something that most of you already know, but if you've never really knit cables before, or if you aren't comfortable knitting from a chart, hopefully this will be a game changer for you too. So, here's just like a sketch that I drew up. And here's a cable cross, these 3 stitches in the middle. So it's 3 stitches of knit, a cable cross, 3 stitches of knit. Okay? So most charts, you're going to have like a lot. You're going to have like a whole grid of stitches up in here. But I sketched out 1 row. Most people who are right-handed and knit in a regular right-handed way are going to read the chart going this way. So that's why the one's over on this side. So this is showing you row 1. And you're going to knit, because basically your chart is how your stitches look as you're looking at them on the right side. Okay? So you're knitting along, and you come to these 3 stitches, and you say, I want these 2 stitches and this stitch to cross, so that these 2 stitches over here are in front. You see how that's looking? And then this shadowed stitch comes behind and is purled. And maybe these might be purl stitches, I don't know, whatever. It's an example. But the main thing is that you can see that the stitches in front are coming from this side that you haven't got to yet, and the stitches in back are coming from the side that you're at. So what you're going to want to do is take your stitches over here and bring them in front of your stitches. So as you're knitting across, you're going to want to take your cable needle and hold these to the front, and then this stitch that's already over here is going to become the back, and you're going to knit these two off your cable needle, and then you're going to knit or purl or whatever the directions tell you to do off this back one. The reason that I like chart so much, pardon me while I fix my hair, the reason I like chart so much is because I knit left-handed. So I knit in this direction. The direction that I'm knitting, I'm coming to these two stitches first. So that means that I have to pull this stitch over here behind and bring those two in front. And then I'm knitting that one first and those two second. So it helps me not like switch my cables end up going in the right direction. But the main point of me showing this tip to you is that a chart, you can easily see which stitches come in front. Are you crossing them in front or behind in the direction that you're knitting them? So does that make sense? I hope it does. I'm not like the expert on cable knitting, but if you ever get a chance to take a class on cable knitting from a chart or anything like that, definitely take it. Watch some YouTube videos that actually show it in action. But yeah, when you can visualize and see like how you want your stitches to cross and which order you're going to bring them in, because that's all it's doing, is saying you've got these stitches over here and these stitches over here and you want to swap them, and the chart shows you in which direction to do that, and it makes life so much easier when you can knit from a chart. I hope you guys followed along with that, because it's probably not like the best example in the world or the best explanation in the world. I'm much more of a like, I have to do as I see, like I have to visualize it and watch it and do it as I'm watching it. Just listening to somebody be like, you just cross these two stitches over each other, doesn't always make the best sense, but maybe it helped a little bit. Anyway, so very happy with the mammoth shawl. This thing, the reason that it hasn't gotten done, do you see how big it is? Like, that's a lot of wool yarn to be sitting on your lap as you knit, and it's hot, so I have to like really crank the AC up when I work on it, but it's getting there slowly but surely. Maybe next week, we'll see. It's getting done. My free or fade scrunched onto the straight needle still. There we go. As I try to pull it off again. I think I do need that stitch there. Okay. So, as you can see, I've faded into a new color. I didn't really do it as the pattern calls for. I'm pretty much just making it up and doing my own thing as I go along. But I wasn't paying attention and I was nearly out of the turquoise and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have enough if I wait until after the eyelet row to start fading, so I started fading just a few rows before it, but I think it still turns out fine. It still looks good. I mean, the whole thing, you can see, like, it has stripiness and all through it because of the way the yarn was, so, I mean, oh my goodness. This needle's gonna drive me up the wall, and I don't have a better one to put it onto. Saving stitches, saving stitches. At least this yarn is like super grabby. And my stitches don't just like slide out the second they fall off the needle. Okay, we're gonna keep my finger there so that doesn't happen again. So, yeah, I can't remember what I was telling you, but here's a look at it. It's all the maroon, all the turquoise, and now we're into the green. So it's just barely started. There's not a whole lot there yet. But there you go, a new color on my Free or Fade. And yes, I know this is probably not the best way. I should get a circular needle, but this yarn is so thin that I'm really concerned that if I get a circular needle, it's gonna grab on the join and like be an even bigger headache than this thing is. So for now, I'm just scrunching it up on the straights in dealing with drop stitches as I come to them. I'm super excited to get this one done. I think it'll look really pretty when it is, but it might be a while. And then I'm also, you know, what would be better for this project is if I actually put it in my project bag so that it didn't all come apart. They make those for a reason. And I also got some work done on this, the Glamour Wrap. Because it is much more open and airy. It's not as hot to work on as the Mammoth one is. So I've been doing a bit more work on this one than any of the others. I really like how it's turning out. It's super easy. I get a secret joy out of dropping those stitches when you come to them. And I do like how, you know, the openness of it kind of works out. So I think it'll be really pretty when it's done. Just kind of a nice, light summer type wrap. This one and the Mammoth shawl are both for my prayer shawl ministry group. So this one is being knit out of the Loops and Threads from Michaels. It's their Impeccable. In the, trying to find it, I know it's here, Seaside is the color. Okay, so those are the projects that I've been knitting on. But you know how at the top of the episode I always say knitting and crafting? Well, this week we did some and crafting. It was, I just dropped one. I dropped one on the floor and it's just gonna have to stay there. So a while back when we were visiting my dad, when we went on that first vacation trip to Oklahoma, my sister gave Brooklyn a huge talking large tackle box full of beads, and Brooklyn has just been loving it ever since. She discovered right before we went to Colorado that there were earring backs in the bead case, the French hooks. And so she thought, well, this must mean that I can make earrings. And she asked me how to do it. And I said, well, I'll have to look at a tutorial. I don't know. We searched YouTube, found a real simple tutorial on how to do beaded earrings. And this is the result. So she's been making her own earrings. Let's see if I can actually get this in my ear. Her ears are pierced, and she looks 10 times better in a dangly earring than I do. But yep, little, just fun little beaded earrings. She made like, oh, 6 pair, no, maybe 5 pairs yesterday. And they were all just various different. She did like the black, but then like the different colored beads in the middle. I think she did pink and turquoise and green, and I don't know what other colors she had in there, but basically she has like an earring for every outfit now. Um, she's really enjoying it. It's to make that little loop. We're not quite as practiced on doing the loop yet, but definitely very functional. She loves them. She made them herself. I helped a little bit, but once she got the hang of it, she was off and running all on her own. So I'm kind of super proud that my secret thing is like, now I need to find a tutorial on how to make stitch markers. And then I've got to set her to work on making me stitch markers. That's totally not selfish, right? It's totally cool for me to put her to work, like, make me stitch markers. I'll buy you more beads. So that was our fun kind of crafting adventure yesterday. And like I said, it was super lazy yesterday. This week, we are enjoying a freebie week at our local grocery store. They're having like an anniversary event. So yesterday we got to go get free donuts. Today we went over and got a free slice of pizza and a soda. That was nice. I think tomorrow they're doing like root beer floats, which I'll probably find an excuse to skip because I don't like root beer floats. And then I think one day they're doing like free birthday cake, and then another day they're doing like chicken strips and a bottle of water or something like that. So we've kind of been doing like freebie lunches and breakfasts all week long, and being lazy in these hot, really crazy hot summer days. So not much else to share. Much shorter episode than last week, unfortunately. I'm a day late and shorter. I don't know what to tell you. It's just how crazy summer is getting. I'm definitely kind of counting down the days and looking forward to when they go back to school and we can get back in a really good routine, because I need that and they need that, and I think we're just kind of done with summer, but we still have like an entire month before they go back to school. Anyway, I'm gonna quit rambling, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Next week will be better, I promise, and I'll get there on time. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you later.